Hey guys, Akhtar from Reaching Excellence here. In this video, I'm going to walk you through step by step how to close an M&A deal, how to close and negotiate a deal for a business that you're buying. Now look, in this video, I'm going to talk you through and walk you through what I call the godfather method. This is my model and my system for closing deals. I'm going to walk you through step by step. So I want you to stay to the very end, because what I'm going to give you here is a very powerful, tried and tested methodology. I've been doing this for 30 years, and this is what I teach my students inside my academy. And it's not just a negotiation tactic. This is the psychology and the neuroscience. And we're sharing some NLP tactics here as well that will help you to powerfully influence, get to build trust with your sellers and help you to do more deals, okay? So what qualifies me to teach you this stuff? Well, look, I've been in business for a long time. I've been doing real estate deals, property deals since 2002. I built a multi-million-pound property portfolio. I've completed on over 208 property transactions, and I've also been doing M&A for the last 3 years, and I'm growing a portfolio of companies, and we're constantly expanding. So knowing the art of doing the deal is what I'm going to share with you today, okay? So it's my mission. This is something I'm so passionate about. It's my mission to help entrepreneurs to overcome a lot of the stresses, a lot of the challenges, a lot of the blind spots that cause that frustration that stops them from leveling up, because it's my intention to help entrepreneurs to seriously build wealth, to become top tier 1% entrepreneurs so they can live the dream, okay? Now look, why am I sharing this video with you, okay? Why am I producing this video? Well look, let me tell you, through bitter experience when I started out, I screwed up so many negotiations, okay? I went out, I didn't know what to say, I didn't know how to lead things, I didn't know what to do, how much information to say. And you start to get into this negative mindset of thinking, oh, maybe there's not deals out there and people aren't motivated and so forth. No, that's not the case. It's understanding the psychology, because whenever we go to do things, sometimes we just don't know what we don't know. And in this video, I'm going to share with you some things that I think are super important. These are things that I teach to my academy members that will help them to do deals. This will help you to do more deals too, okay? So let's dive into the content of this. The first thing that I want you to do is I want you to understand this is a mindset shift, okay? The thing I want you to understand is there's two types of negotiation. Now, the old way of doing things is a competitive approach. If you compete with someone, you try and drive them down on price, try and drive them down, try and screw them down, okay? This doesn't work. This doesn't work, because what will happen is if you screw someone down, if they're in a tight spot, or they're distressed or they're highly motivated, they might say yes to do the deal, but it will build some form of resentment, and down the line, something will happen, okay? In my experience of doing those types of deals, when I've seen this, either when I used to do that myself or when I coached other people, if you drive someone down really hard and you drive a hard bargain, what will happen is there's going to be some resentment, okay? And you know, if you are in a situation where it's going to take time to do the transaction, which if you're doing an M&A deal, they're not quick. They can take a few months depending on your lawyers and so forth and how much due diligence needs to be done. But if there's anything there that they're not quite happy with, they won't stick with the deal. If someone comes along and gives them a better offer, you're out, okay? And then if you do buy the business and then they have to transition, they have to take over, or you have to have them hand over, somewhere down the line, they're going to sabotage, because there's going to be some ill feeling. So forget the whole kind of competitive approach, okay? The thing that you need to do is you need to adopt a mind frame of collaboration. You need to be there and collaborate with them. So how can you do this? So when you go and sit and meet with a vendor, see that you're on the same team. Now, this is really important. If you're going to buy a business and you're going to need the owner to do some sort of handover or stay on some sort of consultancy basis or be an employee in the business, you want to make sure that there is a good relationship. So the things that you can do is you can say things like, well, let's have a look at what we can do. Let's see how we can create a deal that's going to be win-win and work for both of us. And when it comes to sitting down and negotiating the deal, do not sit opposite them. Don't be the opponent, okay? Because that's kind of like confrontational. Go and sit next to them. So if I'm in a boardroom situation, or if I'm going to go sit with a vendor, I'll always go and sit next to them, because what it shows, and this is a subconscious thing, psychologically, I'm on your side, I'm by your side. We're in this together. We're going to work on this together to see if we can come up with a deal that's going to give you what you want and what I want, and we're going to meet in the middle and do something that's win-win. So this is the first mind frame that you need to have. You need to forget about the whole kind of competitive driving people into the ground, that kind of thing. It just doesn't work, and deals fall out of bed more often when that happens, okay? So that's the first thing. The second thing I want to tell you before I teach you the Godfather method is you have to build rapport. Now, you've probably been on courses or workshops, or maybe you've read books. They don't really teach what rapport is, okay? So what is rapport? Rapport is when there is a climate of trust and understanding between two or more people. Now, rapport is the bare minimum that you want to be doing, okay? You want to be creating with the vendor. So how do we go about creating like rapport? So commonality. So I'm going to give you an example. When I went out and met with the last M&A deal that we completed on, the deal was in southwest London. I actually used to live in the town where the industrial estate is. So I started to talk about, well, I used to live here. I used to live by the Common. I used to live by the golf club. And what I was doing is showing this guy that I was familiar. I knew the area and that I was like him, because people like people that are like them. He told me he had a son. I said, well, I've got a couple of kids. I've got daughters as well. And that built this trust, because what we started to do just by sharing this kind of commonality between us, it started to build trust. People like people that are like them. So in that first conversation, that first meeting, 80% of what I did was getting on side and showing that I'm going to collaborate with him. And it was the other part of it was about building rapport with him, okay? Why is it important to build rapport with people? Well, listen, rapport is a precursor for trust. If you want someone to trust you and do a deal with you, then there has to be rapport. There has to be some kind of rapport, no like and trust. So people need to get to know you. They need to get to know what you're like as a person, what you do, what your interests and that stuff are, okay? That's a lot more personal than just looking at the mechanics of the deal. And that's what's going to build you trust. And what I found with all the deals I've ever done, when there's been a deep rapport and an actual connection with the seller, I've got the best deals, and I've also been able to serve them the best way. So rapport is super, super important. Here's what will happen if you don't do it. If you don't have rapport with people, they won't trust you. They won't like you. They won't even know why. They'll just have this kind of icky feeling inside and go, I don't know what it is. It'll be an unconscious decision that they make. So rapport tends to happen at a subconscious level. So it's super important that you create rapport. And don't make stuff up because people will sense your BS. You've got to genuinely find common ground, things that are, things that you have in common, interests. We're not talking about golf. We're not talking about traveling and things like that. We're not talking about kids, our families and that sort of stuff, because it just showed that we're like-minded individuals. We're on the same kind of page, and that kind of created that bond and trust between us. So rapport is fundamental, okay? Now, I think rapport is the bare minimum that you should have with a vendor. I think you should go beyond that and create a deeper rapport where you have a genuine connection. Now, with the person that I bought the last acquisition from, he's a really nice guy. I genuinely like him because we've got that genuine connection, okay? And it's not just a working relationship. I've been invited to go out to football matches and, go and have a drink down the pub with him and that kind of stuff. That's the kind of relationship that you want to have with a vendor, and especially if they're going to be in the business and they're going to be handing over and transitioning over, okay? So we've got to come back from this mind frame of collaboration, okay, and also building that deep rapport, that know, like, and trust as a precursor before we even get into the negotiations, okay? So look, I want to dive into the Godfather method, okay? So the first thing I want you to understand is this, okay? Whenever you go to meet a vendor, okay, a lot of business owners don't understand the process of selling a business, especially if they haven't done it before. They might have an idea, they might have spoken to their lawyer or whatever. So it's your job to be able to guide them. So what you need to do is give them an outline of what you're going to do, what the conversation is going to be around, okay, and take control. It's really important that you take control and lead, because if you don't take control, they're going to take it off in a different direction. And what you need to do is kind of walk them through what the steps and the stages are going to be. So I tend to say to people, look, I'm just here today to have a friendly chat with you. Let's just find out a little bit more about your business. Let's just see what we can do, what you want, and if we can come up with a deal together. Is that okay? And they normally say yes. Okay, and I say, look, I'm going to talk you through this stuff, talk you through what the process is going to be. We're going to have a chat now. We're going to see what we can do, if we can kind of do a deal, if we're on the same page. We'll then go to the accountant. We'll go and get some accounts. We'll get some management accounts. We'll go away, we'll have a look at that and digest that, and then we'll come back and we'll sit down and we'll see if we can work a deal out. Is that okay with you, okay? That's the kind of thing that I would say with people, because I'm not there going to make an offer straight away. I don't make offers, okay? I want to find out what we can do, okay? You don't go and ask for marriage on the first date. So it's a process where I end up having 2 or 3 visits before I actually propose a deal. So the first thing you've got to do is kind of guide them on what the process is and what your intention is. So you're leading them. The second thing you need to do is to open them up. And what I mean by that is to have an understanding. You need to obtain an understanding of why they're trying to sell their business. What is their pain points? Why are they selling? Is it retirement? Is it ill health? Have they got a financial challenge? Are they distressed in some way, shape, or form? Now, this is super, super important that you get this, because if you don't understand what their pain points are, you probably won't be able to come up with a solution that's going to work for them. But they will not disclose their pain points if there isn't enough trust with you. And if you haven't got trust, it's because you haven't got enough rapport with them, okay? So it's really important that you have an understanding of why they're selling, what their objectives are, and what they're trying to achieve, okay? The next thing you need to do is to diagnose, which is you need to kind of dive into their current circumstances. So for example, say, how long have you had the business for sale? What is it you're trying to do? I'm trying to retire. I want to go and live in another country. What's been your biggest challenge right now? And you need to get an understanding of that. And you've got to do this from, again, a collaborative approach. Okay, let's see if we can fix that. Let's see if we can come up with a solution that's going to work for you. Let's see. We want them to think and feel that we are genuinely on their side, okay? So you need to diagnose what the problem is. You need to dive into their current circumstances. So again, case with the last M&A deal that I did, he wanted to relocate. He wanted to emigrate to another country. And the challenge he had was some stuff with the business taking a long time to sell. He also had some personal finance stuff that he had to deal with, which was time sensitive. So when we understood his whole situation, that then gave us an understanding of what offer he could and he could not accept, and what needs he had to meet. So this is super important. Again, trust and rapport is so important. The next thing you want to do is you want to start tapping into the emotion, okay? So this is called future pacing. Future pacing is an NLP term. This is where you get someone to imagine what things would be like, okay? So this is where you kind of pace their future and you build a vision of what they want to have. So in the case of my vendors, I'll be saying things like, what would you do once you've sold the business? And they'll say, well, I'm going to go and emigrate, or I'm going to go and travel around the world, and I'm going to sail a yacht. And we go, okay, great, that'd be lovely. So why don't we see if we can do a deal so we can get you to where you need to be so you can go off and sail off into the sunset. And it's important that you do this because people are talking about their pain, but you also need to show what the pleasure is and what the future they want to have is. And it's your job as a really good negotiator to be able to collaborate with them and to help them to achieve that goal. Because if you can't help them to achieve that goal, they may not be able to do the deal, okay? The next thing that's super, super important is you need to give them the opportunity for an admission. So what do I mean by this? So you need to ask them, well, why is this business not sold? Have you thought about selling it? Have you thought about stripping assets or whatever else? You need to get them to admit why they can't sell the business, okay? And it's important that you do this, because if you don't, what will happen is people will go, yeah, the business has got great potential and, you can grow it, you can expand it and this, that, and the other. They kind of talk a little bit optimistic. You have to get people to admit why it isn't selling, what the problem is, what the challenges are, okay? Once they've admitted that to themselves, it's going to kind of rub a little bit more salt into the wound, and they go, okay, yeah, well, it's not selling because, we had COVID, sales have dropped, and, we just about sort of breaking even, whatever their pain points are. And again, they're only going to admit this to you if you've got that rapport and you're coming from a place of collaboration. You almost want to be like a friend. You want to be a friend with your arm around them saying, hey, buddy, I'm going to help you with this. I'm going to get you sorted out, okay? The next thing you need to do is this. Now, this might sound a bit mean, but you need to twist the knife in. And what I mean by that is you need to kind of trigger a bit of emotion and gain some commitment, which is saying things like, well, what will happen if you don't sell this? Have you considered what the implications are or the consequences are? Now, sometimes people will say things like, well, actually, if I don't sell this and I don't relocate, my wife is going to be, a lot of grief. I'm going to get a lot of stress at home. Or if I don't sell this, I'm going to be stuck here in this business. I'm, 60 plus years of age, and this is going to ruin me. You need to understand what the consequences are, and you need them to be aware of what the consequences are, because what this is going to do is once you kind of get them to admit and you twist the knife in, which is like rubbing salt into the wound. What is the consequence if you don't get this sorted out? That's going to get them more motivated, okay? Next thing you want to be doing is you want to be offering them some help. So by help, what I mean is you need to highlight how you can help them, and you kind of need to ask for permission to say, look, can I give you an idea of how I might be able to help you out with this? Ask for their permission, get them to say yes, okay? I'll probably do another video on this at a later date about, some of the language patterns we use when I'm doing the negotiations, but you want them to buy in and say yes to help you. And what you can kind of do at this point is to say, look, we've got a number of ways that we can do deals. We need to have a look at the numbers, but what we need to do is we need to get you this so you can achieve this and you go and sail off in the sunset. We need to do this so we can make sure we can buy the property, we can fund it, and we can acquire it in the way that we want to, okay? So you need to kind of do that. And the second thing you've got to do is explain your expertise. Because one of the things that happens sometimes, and this is what been my experience, when you're dealing with a business owner, And especially if you want to do something creative like a deferred consideration, the first thing they're going to want to know is, are you going to screw up their business? Have you got any business experience? So one of the things that I do is I qualify myself and say, look, I've been in business for 30 years. I've built a multi-million-pound property portfolio. I've completed on lots of property transactions. I'm also a mentor and a business coach. I coach people in this subject. And also we've been doing numerous M&A deals. So we're experienced at doing this. Don't worry, we can hold your hand through the whole process. Again, collaboration, arm around them, being like a friend, help them to get to where they need to be, okay? So this is what you need to do, okay? And then the final thing that you need to do is you need to make a request. And what you need to do is, when I say request, you need to ask them for further information. Can we have your full accounts and can we have management accounts? And this is important. Now, again, sometimes I've approached companies and I've approached people, and if that trust isn't there, if that rapport is not there, then one thing that will happen is they'll be very cagey about giving you information around the company. They'll be cagey about giving you accounts. They'll be cagey about letting you see bank statements. They'll be cagey around, anything to do with the company. They'll just hold it all back because there's some fear around it. You've got to remember, when you're dealing with business owners, their business, they're very emotionally invested. It's a baby that they've built up and they've put blood, sweat and tears into it over the last 10, 15, 20 years. They don't want their name changed off the door. They're worried about you stripping the assets out. They're worried about it all being changed, okay? The other thing you also want to do with these business owners is tell them what's good about the business. Don't tell them what you're going to change or what doesn't work or whatever else, okay? That's going to come across like criticism, and it's going to be difficult to digest. Again, collaborate, praise them for what's great, what they've been able to do, what works really well. And then you need to just make that request. What you then do is, once you've made that request, you take that information away and you say, look, we're going to digest this. And what we're going to do is, once we digest this, we're going to come back to you. And what you do is you then go back with a second meeting. And then at that point, you can kind of propose your terms and structures as to how you want to do the deal. So, you can go back and say, look, we realize that you need X amount to go off and sail into the sunset. You want to do that by this point in time. Here's how we can propose a deal. Now, I don't want to get into the structure of how to do the deal in this video because every deal is going to be so subjective, but that's the process that you want to go to, okay? Now, if you follow this step by step, you use collaboration, you build deep rapport and a connection with someone, you use this Godfather method, and you take control, you're going to get more deals across the line, okay? You're going to get more deals across the line because people are going to open up to you and they're going to want to work with you because they're going to feel that you genuinely have got their best interests at heart. People can smell BS a mile away. People can smell someone who's selfish a mile away. If you genuinely care about the person, you genuinely want to do what's best for them and for you, which I hope you are, because that's the kind of person that I am. If you genuinely want to do that, people will feel that, sense that, and they will trust you, and you've got more chances of doing a deal and deals sticking through, not falling out of bed when they're with lawyers and so forth, okay? So this is how we do it. And this is something that has been tried and tested. This is something that I've done. This is something I teach to my academy members, okay? And this is what you need to do if you want to become a top tier 1% entrepreneur, because if you've been on some of the courses or workshops or masterminds, or you've been to some of the networking events, people talk about doing deals. No one really teaches you how to build relationships like this and to really negotiate in this way. This is the new way of doing things. This is the collaborative way of doing things. All the old stuff that people tell you, just go build rapport, drive them down on price, use this slice and dice technique and all that, that's old stuff. That does not work. People need genuine connection, and they need to feel like you've got their back and you're going to do a deal that's going to be win-win for them, okay? So look, you might get to a point where you've gone and you've been around these other gurus, you might have, gone out and tried to do deals and you're not getting the results you want. That can get you start thinking like, oh, maybe people aren't motivated. It can start getting you thinking like negatively, like maybe I'm not cut out for this and so forth, okay? This is one of the things that happens if you don't have this type of system and also the right mindset. Now, inside my academy, we have the Code of Reaching Excellence, which is my mindset course, which allows you to break through some of these mindset blocks that we have and allows you to take things to that next level. If you want to become a top tier 1% entrepreneur, then you need to level up. You need to do what the 1% are doing, not what the 99% are doing, which is all the old stuff, okay? And if you want to find out more about that, like and subscribe, put a comment below. If there's any more questions that you've got, put them below and I'll produce another video. If you want to check out our Facebook group, if you want to come and join there, we're going to be giving out lots of good content in there and also some tips and tricks as to how you can level up your business. And if you want to talk to us about this, then there's a link below. You can book a call with me and my team and we can help you to take things to that next level. So I hope you found this video useful. Go out there, put the Godfather method into practice, build good connections with people, go do more deals, and also let us know how you get on. Put those comments in the comment section, and I'll see you on the next video. Take care. Bye for now.